The senator from Arkansas.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an important subject. For many, it's a matter of life and death. So I'm pleased that we're taking this bill up so early in the session. The Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act can save lives. It can restore dignity to the victims of these heinous crimes, and it can help end modern slavery. I believe without a doubt every member of this body wants to see this bill become law. I hope we can overcome this delay and send the bill to the President so that we can make it a reality. As the father of 3 girls and a grandfather of granddaughters, I support the bill. I co-sponsored it. I'm eager to see it become law. By doing so, we will build on our previous efforts that have dramatically reduced instances of human trafficking around the globe. Since the passage of the landmark Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000, the U.S. has been a leader in international community's fight to end modern-day slavery. This law ushered in a new strategy that addressed human trafficking on multiple fronts, combining strong protection for victims, including sheltering and asylum, with tough punishments for traffickers, including long jail sentences and asset confiscation. And most importantly, sanctions for offending governments. The law has enabled us to crack some of the biggest international human smuggling rings. The most recent statistics show that during the 12-year period from 2000 to 2012, over 1,100 traffickers were charged in the U.S., resulting in 755 successful convictions. The Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act can replicate these successes in combating international trafficking by helping us take on the traffickers here at home. This is an effort by my colleagues that we can all agree is worthwhile, which is clear by how easily this passed committee and by the level of bipartisan co-sponsorship it maintains. So I'm not quite certain I understand what the Democrat leadership's strategy aims to accomplish. The language that they now find objectionable has been in the bill all along. It's standard language that has been around for decades. On top of this, the majority leader offered to vote to strip the language out. Yet the minority continues to block this bill from floor consideration. Not only can they offer an amendment to strip that language, but members of the minority can offer any amendment that they want, any amendment that they believe will make the bill stronger. That's the amazing thing about regular order. I know some of Senate Democrats are still getting used to the idea after years of being forced to the sidelines by their own leadership, but this is a good change that we should all embrace. I believe this particular bill is strong from the onset, but I've offered a couple of amendments to even make it stronger, make it better. Both these amendments make improvements to our efforts to address trafficking on the global stage. The first one deals with countries who try to game the system to avoid sanctions. The State Department's tier system for ranking offending countries is an excellent tool for ferreting out the problem governments and prompting positive change. By utilizing the threat of sanctions, we can effect change for the better. Regrettably, some countries have abused the system and taken advantage of the special watch list designation that is supposed to be reserved for troubled nations, making good faith efforts to actually change. These nations have been able to get this designation without ever attempting to address human trafficking, and in turn avoiding the sanctions that they deserve. China is a perfect example. With this amendment, we can put an end to the games. It will close the loopholes that allow governments to retain the special watch list designation without making immediate progress to reduce human trafficking or face quick removal. This will force governments to take real action, not just a nod and a wink to the problem to buy sanctions relief. The Second Amendment aims to put more teeth in the State Department's office to monitor and combat trafficking. This amendment seeks to rename it and elevate it to the status of bureau. to increase its effectiveness so that those responsible for this essential diplomatic tool are heard within the State Department. These two amendments will help our overall strategy to combat trafficking, but again, this bill as it was introduced would be a huge help in our efforts to save lives. The bill has had the support of 200 advocacy groups, many of which are law enforcement organizations. These advocacy groups are voicing the same concerns that we hear on the local level in our communities back home, that this is a real problem with real victims. And our local officials want this bill passed for that exact reason. Just last week, I was visiting with some of my state's mayors who were in Washington for the Arkansas Municipal League fly-in, and the issue came up. The mayor of Hot Springs, Arkansas, Ruth Carney, said this is an issue that is really close to her heart and highlighted that Garland County has a task force to tackle human trafficking. She said, and I quote, "It's a great thing to see that Congress is working to help with this situation because I feel like it's very important for our country." I imagine that the senators holding up this bill hear the same thing from their state and local officials. Perhaps they should listen to them about the importance of getting this done. So why drag this on longer? We could pass this bill within hours if the Democrats would drop its manufactured outrage over language that has been in the bill since its introduction, language that has literally been applied to similar legislation for decades. The senior senators from Texas and Minnesota came together in a bipartisan manner to draft this important legislation. It was passed by the committee in regular order in a similar bipartisan manner. I urge my colleagues to stand with the victims, pass this bill, get them help, and get our communities the resources that they need to save thousands more from becoming victims.